What's up, everybody? This is Jeremiah Smith with Just Some Guy Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a comparison video between the Threat Cadre Compensator and the DSC Gunworks Compensated barrel. So we're going to go ahead and start off by analyzing the Threat Cadre. So this is mine mounted and on. So whenever you receive it, it is just the compensator. So any of the pictures that I take where you see it with the barrel attached to it, that was a threaded barrel that I had before. As far as availability on those, there's a couple companies that make them. I believe the most popular one right now would be Jarvis. Actually makes threaded barrels. They do have them in stainless finish. I believe they also have them in a DLC or a coated variant. But whenever you receive it, what you receive is just the compensator, which threads onto a threaded barrel. I actually had my threaded barrel made from Staccato themselves, direct from the factory, and fitted to mine. So whenever you receive it, it's just the compensator. What I had was, mine is actually the black Cerakoted version. He had made some for black anodized, and there were some issues with the anodizing as far as reliability with the people that were doing it, so he went ahead and switched to Cerakote. And I believe he'll be doing Cerakote from now on. It also does come in, I consider it a stainless finish. The actual compensator itself is made out of aluminum. So it has a stainless appearance on it, but it's actually just the bare aluminum. So that way you could pick your own coating. If, for instance, you wanted to go with the DLC so that it would match the rest of the gun, you have that option. So those come in at $179.99. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the DSC Gunworks compensated barrel now. All right, so the DSC Gunworks compensated barrel. Wonderful piece of work. This is made out of hardened steel. It is DLC coated, which that is the same coating that they use for the rest of the gun. So wonderful little item there. Comes in at $380. Drop in. So whereas the Cadre comp was just the comp, this is actually an entire drop-in barrel. So whenever you receive this, you actually get a recoil spring, which is a little bit shorter than the recoil springs that came with the Staccato P. But you get that, and you get the comped barrel. It is a drop-in barrel. So that right there, for many of you guys, is going to be a bonus. Something to look at where you don't have to take it to get it fitted in for a gunsmith. So let's go ahead and let's look at some footage of our guns going head to head and how they shoot. All right, so you got to see some firing, you got to see the function, so we'll go ahead and start off by talking about the functionality on the Cadre comp. So first thing, functioned wonderfully. You guys can go back and see the review that I did for this before, but if you watch the way that it fires, there's almost no barrel rise. It really does help keep the muzzle rise down. Wonderful functionality. It really holds on target. You don't have to worry about bringing the sights back down for your follow-up shots, and there were no reliability issues whatsoever with this. There's been no failure to ejects, no failure to feeds. Even one of the things that I noticed is sometimes with some of the magazines that I've had, I actually have a problem with getting the slide to lock back whenever it goes empty. And whenever I installed this, that's no longer an issue. It is locked back every single time it's running out of ammunition. So I guess that's an unintended plus, but definitely a welcome one. So as far as functionality, I really enjoyed the fact that this even stayed sighted in dead accurate. So whenever I was shooting, I was able to hit exactly what I was aiming at. Didn't have any issues as far as needing to re-sight anything in. Wonderful functionality. So we'll go ahead and look at the DSC for functionality right now. All right, so just like the Threat Cadre functioned flawlessly, this one also had no reliability issues. So I know that's always a consideration for some of the people whenever they have any kind of drop-in versus hand-fitted part, but I can tell you that this did not have any misfires. No failure to feed, no failure to eject. And just like with the Cadre comp, I did also notice that it would lock back after I finished the magazine and it was empty. So that right there, it fixed a flaw it didn't even know it had. So that's another plus. Again, a welcomed one. So as far as the function, I did notice it did keep a great job of reducing the barrel rise. There weren't any problems with that. It's a lot smaller than what the Threat Cadre comp is, which you'll notice just by looking at it, but every bit as effective. Both of them did a really good job. Honestly, I can't say definitively that one did a better job of reducing the muzzle rise than the other one did. Both of them, great job. Both of them also really helped keep the follow-up shots pretty quick, stayed on target. Both of them functioned flawlessly like that. And again, I mentioned the reliability, no issues there. The only thing that I noticed, and I'll go ahead and I'll give an out on it, is that whenever I was shooting this, my groups did go a little bit to the left. I mentioned that in the previous review, and as I said in the previous review, one of the reasons for that could very well be that the sights that I use on this are the Dawson Precision Tritium sights. I have adjusted these. Whenever I had them installed, I did not have them zeroed in. So I actually had to go through and zero these in myself. So part of that could be due to my shooting style, and it might have well been that if these had been installed and zeroed in by Dawson, that with this barrel, it could be shooting straight on the bullseye. It could just be the odd way that I shoot, or that could be something like that. But, for a plug and play part, put it in, is a little bit to the left. Was only about maybe 2 inches to the left, so it wasn't so ridiculously far, and I shot at about between 7 and 10 yards whenever I did my groupings. So it wasn't like it was some 2-yard shot and it was 2 inches to the left. So even with that, I could very well adjust my sights to zero it in, no problem. So anybody that has any issues with that, I can't really see it being that big of a problem unless you had if you had one of the Duo or DPO without using a red dot that you were sighting in, you were just going with the regular sights, those could line up, or if they were a little off, that might require sending it somewhere to have it zeroed in, but even with that, no real issues. Anything could be taken care of with that. So that was just something I noticed, but again, that could very well just be my sights. So we'll go ahead and look at the aesthetics now for the Cadre comp. All right, so now that we've looked at the functionality on the DSC Gunworks barrel, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the main reasons anybody looks at getting a compensator for their pistol. Let's be honest, it's aesthetics. It's important. It's what drew half of us to it. We all know that the XC is a beautiful gun, and we love the function on it. They're absolutely, I don't want to say one of a kind, because they did have the DVC-P, DVC Omni, things like that came from STI, but overall just beautiful design, one that's been done several times over, but always done beautifully. But the compensators do look very cool. We all love the way that they look on there. So as far as aesthetics, one of the things that I liked about this is the overall design, and the fact that if you look, the lines follow the gun like it looks like it was part of it. It doesn't look like something that was necessarily an add-on. So I personally am a big fan of that for the fitment, the way that it looks. The only issue with that, as far as the aesthetics, would be the way that you line it up. So whenever I lined it up, I didn't do it perfectly. So if you look at some of the lines on here, this side looks pretty good. It's a little bit high on here, and then if you look over here, it's just a tad bit lower right there. That was just the way that I tightened it and rock set it. So if you have a professional gunsmith do it and line it up, or if you take the time and you really work on it yourself to get it perfect, then that won't be an issue. That was just, I'm not a gunsmith, I am just some guy. So I did the best I could. I'm happy with it. For me, my guns are as much tools as they are toys, and I like to keep them nice, but I also understand that anything that I EDC is going to have some little flaws in it from carrying it all the time. So for me, it's almost a benefit that I didn't end up scratching it whenever it looked flawless and hating myself for it. So no issue at all there. So aesthetically, love the design, love the way that it's blended in, and the only thing as far as the aesthetics on it is that this one is Cerakoted. I think if I were going to redo it, I would probably go ahead and get the stainless finish or the bare metal finish on it, and then maybe send it in someplace to have it DLC coated so it would perfectly match. But again, it doesn't bother me. I think it still looks beautiful on there, so no real issues with that. So we'll go ahead and look at the aesthetics on the DSC Gunworks now. All right, as I said before, aesthetics, very important. So as far as the DSC, one of the things that I absolutely love about this, and I'm not one of those people that's OCD, but I do love that the finish matches. It catches the light with the same kind of finish on it. It's not like a satin and then a matte. They match. It looks like it was made for this gun, because it was. Even the serrations that are up here, the front cocking serrations, are actually the same size as the cocking serrations that are on here. Now you can only go about that far. You cannot cock the gun with the barrel, obviously, but they match. It blends. It looks really good together. So as far as aesthetics, not bad. I also like the fact that it is low profile. That's a plus. So if, for instance, I've mentioned I have a C2 for my wife. If she were going to carry something, I would actually probably like something that was kind of like this, that was low profile, so that way it wouldn't get hung up. She doesn't really carry like in her purse or anything like that, but just whenever she carries, it won't get caught up on anything. It won't get caught on any kind of clothing. It won't be caught up on stuff like that, just because it is so low profile. So a huge plus. And I've mentioned it is made out of the hardened steel. So between it being one piece with the rest of the barrel and the fact that it is made out of the hardened steel, it's a win-win package. I really like it. I think probably in terms of having to pick one, it's difficult, because as I said, if I were going to carry a C2, I'd probably go with this one, just because it's so low profile. If you're going for a smaller carry gun, that would probably work. If we were going to pick just on a P for something for duty or competition, I probably like the overall lines of the Threat Cadre, but once again, I would go ahead and get it with the unfinished, uncoated version and then have it DLC coated. But either one of these are absolutely gorgeous. They look great, no problems there. So let's go ahead and talk about fitment. All right, so we've looked at the functionality, we've looked at the form, now we're going to look at the fit. So one of the things that I noticed about this from the get-go is whenever you install it, and this is vitally important, whenever you are bringing the compensator around and you're threading it, you have to make sure that your guide rod system is out. So this actually, whenever you bring it down, if your guide rod system is in there, it actually meets with the recoil plug that's on the very front of it, and it won't let it cinch down where it's supposed to be. That's because this fits very close. There's a very slight gap in there, but not by much. And that actually helps, because whenever your recoil plug, whenever you take this thing and break it apart, you want to take the guide rod out. And it's just this very small bit that's right up here, where you can see where that's what reaches out and will keep the compensator from turning whenever it's actually being put on. However, whenever it's in, that does help prevent any form of rattling in the actual gun itself. So whenever your compensator's coming around, it's not going to have any problems as far as fitting in there. It's not going to rattle side to side. You're not going to have any kind of problems with that. So let me go ahead and finish putting this bad boy together to show that. So once it's all back together, function check. Oh, we'll empty chamber check first. There you go, it's back together. But you'll notice there's not any movement side to side. It is solid on there. No vertical movement either. You can't really twist it. Doesn't rattle. So it is solid on there. And as I said, the way that the recoil plug helps come out actually kind of helps secure it in there. So overall, as far as the fitment, well done. All right, fitment. So for the DSC, it's a drop-in barrel. It is the whole barrel. It isn't something that you have to send in the whole gun and have hand-fitted, like for instance the threaded barrel that I had purchased from Staccato. It comes ready to go in the gun. The fitment on it doesn't have any kind of noticeable issues that are going to cause reliability issues. They're not going to impede function. I did notice as far as the way that it fits, just specifically with mine, there's two things. The first one is whenever you're cocking it, it seems like there's a little bit of a grind or a rub right there. That could very well be fixed with some rounds down range. Or I'm sure that if you sent this to David, he is a 2011 machinist. I'm sure he could hand fit one, or he could take care of that. But it doesn't impede the function in any way, shape, or form at all. So, I mean, it ran beautifully. The only other thing, and it depends on, again, your preference on lockup. With it being drop-in, it's not going to fit precisely like a hand-fitted barrel. So if you go up and down, you can hear a little bit of noise. If you go side to side, you can still hear a little bit, and if you twist, there's a little bit of play there. The play does not affect the function at all from what I've noticed. I wouldn't even call it really a con or a problem. I would just say that as far as the fitment, it's not locked up as tight. So there was the Cadre comp that, like I said, the way that the recoil plug sticks out actually holds the Cadre comp in place. But if you'll notice on this one, this actually has a notch. So that way whenever the barrel comes back with the guide rod, it doesn't actually contact, but since there is that little bit of room in there, it makes sure that it won't connect, it won't rub, it won't have any problems that would possibly cause reliability issues. So again, wonderful design. It's a drop-in barrel. So if you're wanting a compensator that you can just throw in, go for it, man. If you want to keep your 4.4 inch barrel and do that, it fits really well. I would say that whether it was for a competition application or something like that, you know, it's great that you can throw in an entire barrel and have a compensated gun that shoots flatter. So even with that, not really any major issues with fitment. You have to have a little bit of give here to have something else there. So if you wanted to send one in, I'm sure David would be able to do a hand-fitted barrel for you that wouldn't have any kind of play in it and would lock up. So that's just kind of, you have to pick your poison on some of that stuff. If you do that, depending on the wait around time and things like that, David's actually really fast with a lot of his stuff, so it might take him like a week or two. It's hard telling. But I sent my pistol in for a trigger job from him, and I had it back within a week, 7 days. So he took my trigger job that I asked him to do. He took it from a 4 pound trigger to 2.5 pound trigger because I was essentially trying to turn my staccato P into an XL, and it now functions like one. It shoots every bit as well as the cost to carry comp that I've shot too. So it's just you have to pick your poison on that, but not really a problem. So we'll go ahead and start looking at some philosophy of use. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and talk about the philosophy of use. What kind of things is this good for? What are the good applications? So first thing that I noticed whenever you started shooting with it, it would be good for competition. It helps for quicker follow-up shots. It does allow you to stay on target better. So it does have some competition applications for it. So if somebody, for instance, did like the tactical games, or if anybody was doing any 3-gun competitions, I really do feel like this would help keep you on target really well. I personally like my Staccato XL. It's a great gun, and I know that that one's very common for people that do things like the tactical games or 3-gun competitions, and it was basically the Combat Master that was just made by Staccato. With the compensated barrel on here, the Cadre comp, it really does come up to the same size as the XL. It functions like the XL, and especially with that extra little bit of barrel that you get on there from it being a threaded barrel, it's every bit as accurate as my XL. But you also have the benefit of it being compensated, so not as much recoil as the XL. So if somebody was looking for an edge as far as competition, I think that this would honestly provide a fairly good advantage for that. Another thing would be if somebody was duty carrying. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not military, no military experience, no law enforcement experience, but it is solid. There aren't any problems, as I've said before. It doesn't rattle. It's not going to come loose. It is solid, built on there. Good construction. So if you were carrying this for duty, I personally cannot see any issues as far as it having any deforming on there. I can't see it really getting caught or hung up on anything. You know, I can't tell the future. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but I would consider this a reliable product on your actual gun. So as far as duty, if somebody wanted to put that on there, as I said, for a good tactical advantage as far as your shooting capability, I can't foresee a problem with it myself. Somebody who actually has more experience in that may disagree, and I would respect and honor that opinion. They've used their firearms in ways that I have not, and so there are things that they would know that I wouldn't. But again, that's why I call this just some guy. I'm the everyman. So anybody that does have any experience with that, I would try to talk to somebody if you were going for a duty application on this. But as far as just general thoughts, I can't see any issues with it. Another thing is everyday carry. So as I've mentioned before, I everyday carry this gun. So I still have the 4.4-inch barrel that came with it stock. And then I sent this into Staccato. They made the threaded barrel for it, hand fitted it. And so, you know, this is fitted really well for my pistol. But even with that, I haven't had any problems everyday carrying it with the compensator on. It's still fitting in my holster. I've also everyday carried a Combat Master at one point and the XL. So I've had the 5.4-inch barrels on there before. I'm kind of a big guy. So I haven't really had any problems with concealing it and carrying it. It doesn't weigh on me that much. So that would be a decent look for you. These also do fit for the Staccato C2, and that would bring it under the size of, I think it's just a little bit over what the 4.4-inch barrel is on the size, but it would still be under 5 inches. So anybody who's carried a standard 1911 before wouldn't have a problem carrying that. And I'd honestly love to get one of these for C2 at some point. I think it would be fun to run on there. But I believe whenever Greg Slimp makes his videos for Instagram, usually what he's running is he's running a C2 with the Cadre comp. So that would be another look for that if you're looking for something everyday carry for that. So I don't foresee any problems with that. It's never hindered me, no issues there. So overall, that's not bad. The other thing, if there is somebody that appendix carries or something like that, it does add a decent amount of size, not just out, but also down. So it does add a little bit of the size to the end of the muzzle. So those are considerations as far as what you're picking, but I haven't had any problems concealed carrying it. Can't say nobody else would have any issues, but that's the beautiful thing about these guns, is that there's all kinds of different ways of carrying them. There's different kinds of firing them. Everybody's got different opinions on them, and you can customize them to what you want. So it comes down to a matter of preference. So we'll go ahead and look at the philosophy of use on the DSC Gunworks comped barrel. Philosophy of use for the DSC Gunworks comped barrel. I can't think of an application where this really doesn't work. As far as competition, man, it really runs smooth. It does. It kept the muzzle rise down. It did a great job of, keeping you on target faster. So as far as competition, worked flawlessly. Seamless action, no problems there. As far as duty, this would be one that I think if I were going to give an advantage between the Cadre Comp and the DSC Gunworks, I might give it to this one just on the basis of the fact that it comes in as one piece and it's made out of hardened steel as opposed to the aluminum. With that, it also being low profile does make it really good for more of a duty application. So as I mentioned before, it won't get caught up on stuff. It won't have any issues like that. I think it'd be great for that. Everyday carry, gosh, it would be great to go on a C2. Like, there's a better than average chance that I will eventually order one of these for the wife's C2. It functions so well. And the thing that impresses me the most is how well it functions for how small it is. So I mentioned on the previous video that I did for this, I've seen some of, like, whether it's Bull Armory or some of the STI, SVI, Infinity, they have some of the compensators that are made into the barrel like this, and then they come out this far, and they've got the giant windows on the top and on the sides. And the fact that you can get that kind of performance out of one that's this small, it's exceptional. It really is. I am blown away with how well this works for as small as it is. So that, again, huge plus. Something I would definitely give a leg up on. It's wonderful for, honestly, really anything that you throw it at, any kind of situation that you're in. I can't really look at this and think of any drawbacks. I mean, it's a very well made, very well designed piece. So I would definitely give it a good thumbs up as far as your philosophy of use on really almost any application. Obviously, any length that you add might impact concealability, but as compact as this thing is, I really don't see it being that big of an issue. So, overall, big thumbs up. So we'll go ahead and do some last thoughts and recommendations. So final recommendations for the Cadre Comp. First thing, I would say if you have a threaded barrel, this is perfect. So if you've gotten one of the newer limited edition staccato Ps or C2s, it would be great for that. If you just happen to have a threaded barrel, maybe perhaps if you were somebody that had a can or a suppressor that they had, or if you've just got an extra threaded barrel laying around, or you decided to order one from Jarvis, this would be a great thing to put on there. With the rock set, I mean, it holds on there steady, but it's not permanent. It's not something that you couldn't remove if you needed to. So if you have a threaded barrel, I'd say it'd be a perfect fit for you on there. It functions great, no issues. One of the recommendations I would say is use the proper tools on the installation. I mentioned in the previous video that I made on this that I actually scuffed the finish up really bad. Greg was nice, and he told me, since I had waited so patiently, send it back and he would fix it and make it right. But honestly, I would just go ahead and use the directions he gives you and do it the right way to begin with, and just avoid the whole situation. So either I would make sure that I have the proper tools and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing and taking extra care, or perhaps send it to a trusted gunsmith, somebody that works on these or somebody that knows what they're doing. The last final recommendation I would give on this is, like I said, if you're just crazy about wanting everything to be matchy-matchy and you want the gun to look like it's built in one piece, I would maybe get the unanodized or uncerakoted version, and I would send it to somebody to have it DLC coated. I think that would be worth the money, especially the DLC coating holds up wonderfully. That's why they use them on these guns. I haven't really seen, you hear some of the online stories about people that had a batch of DLC coated pistols that didn't come out right, but those are few and far between, and usually what happens is they've sent it to STI or Staccato, and they recoated it and then never had an issue again. So I would say it would be worth it to do that for the DLC coating. And just those are my final thoughts on that. All right, so final thoughts and recommendations on the DSC Gunworks comped barrel. First things first, perfect if you're wanting a drop-in, no gunsmithing, plug-and-play piece. I mean, if you want to be able to just take a comped barrel, if you didn't necessarily want to get a threaded barrel, or if you already have the standard barrel that you like, and you're like, I would like to get a comped barrel for it, but I'd still like to have the option of switching, can't go wrong here. So just great for that. As I said before, very sturdy with it being integrally comped with the barrel. So it comes case hardened steel. So it would be great for that. Very sturdy. The fact that there's no installation on it, I don't have to take this to a gunsmith and say, hey, can you tweak this? Can you tweak that? Wonderful overall. Very great. As I said, as far as my personal recommendations, if you're running a C2 for everyday carry, this would be a wonderful piece for it. Even he makes, these actually first came out for the Staccato C and the Staccato C2. So the more compact ones were the first ones that he had running with this, and then he added the P to the lineup. So, he's already got them. They ship out, I believe he said next day or same day, depending on the time. I talked to him about receiving this just for the review. I do have to send this back whenever I'm done. The Threat Cadre I had already ordered, and I own. This one he sent just for the purposes of this review. I will be sending it back. I'm not receiving anything from Threat Cadre or from DSC Gunworks for any of the reviews that I've done. I just did it out of the kindness of my heart. I'm just that good of a guy. But as I said, wonderful design on it. No issues. It would be great for your everyday carry, things like that. The only last second recommendation I would make on this would be that if you are going to run standard iron sights and you have the Duo or the DPO, and you're not planning on using a red dot, or you haven't had one yet, I would just take it out. Before I started just using it and throwing it in, I would take it to the range, which you should anyway, but I'd take it to the range, make sure the sights are lined up. As I said before, my sights, it was just a little bit left, but that could have very well been just the way I had my sight set up, so no real problems on that. Just something to consider. So as far as final thoughts on both of these, really, you can't go wrong. There is no wrong answer here. So if you have a threaded barrel and you're not wanting to spend a lot of money and you want to just go ahead and compensate that bad boy, Threat Cadre will have you covered. It'll be great. If you are wanting to go ahead and get one that's maybe a plug and play and you don't want to have to order a threaded barrel, you can't go wrong with the DSC Gunworks. Like I said, both of them, they'd be good for everyday carry, Both of them are good for competition. Both of them are good, I would say, for duty. Both of them are just wonderful products. It's every bit what you're wanting to put into your gun. Um, as I said, I love the fact that the DSC is DLC coded, but you can also get the uncoded version of the Threat Cadre and have it DLC coded if that's what you wish. So there's so many wonderful options with this. I've also seen recently there was one that was on the Threat Cadre website, or it was the his Instagram account for Greg Slimp. He had one that they actually took it and then they had it titanium nitrided gold and had the screws and the grip to match, and I think it was the trigger as well. Looked bad. So, you can get the uncoated version, customize it the way you want. I'm sure that you would be able to do a similar thing with DSC if you talked to David Simsick and had him work it out. So there's so many beautiful ways to customize these. That's one of the things I love most about the 2011 platform is there's so many different ways that you can shoot it. There's so many different ways you can customize it, carry it. They're great guns. And every single one of them that I've ever shot has been reliable, dead nuts accurate, and just smooth. I mean, smooth as buttered glass, just beautiful. So those are my final thoughts on it. Both of them are great products. I don't think you can go wrong. And, if anybody has any other ideas for any reviews, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Any questions, I'd be happy to get any feedback that I can. One of the things I would be curious about doing a review on soon is Dawson Precision is now advertising that they have a compensator coming out that they've called the Ice. So I might try to reach out to them and see if I can get a sample from them, probably send it back, and just see how that one stacks up to these two. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for any of you that have subscribed, and keep tuning in. We'll keep pumping out reviews. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.